The only real hope and change you'll ever get is from God. It's going to come from the Lord, or it's not going to come at all. It's going to come when you admit that you can't do it and that you've got to have His help.
With everything you're seeing, you had better believe that everything goes back to a spiritual source. Everything. Everything you do, everything I do, everything happening in the world, there is a spiritual core with all of it. 2025, I see what it is. I've not really communicated that. There's going to be a lot of writing, of course, in which things will be communicated, but 2025 is a year of transition. I don't believe anybody will forget it. They're not going to soon forget it. It's going to be one of those times that we've had before, but with a bit more intensity, right? A lot of people out there have an expectation of something. I'll tell you something good. When people have an expectation of something, it never takes place. Do you know that? Never historically has it ever taken place. It's what people have not expected that's come upon them. And it's all about your Father. It's all about doing things your Father's way. It's all about that. If you find yourself in a tight crisis, some heavinesses in your life, count it all joy. Do you know why? Because Satan does not oppose what he already has. He will oppose the Word of God. So if you're facing obstacles, if things are difficult to get to, you had better believe Satan does not want you to have it. And he is meant to block that way. He cannot help himself, but you've been empowered to continue to go forward despite what he throws at you. It is supposed to be, it's not some strange thing. That's why the Word says, don't think it a strange thing when you go through fiery trials. You're not supposed to think it's out of sorts, that it should be somebody else's problem. No. Your character, who you are, your relationship with Christ, your resolve with Christ, your maturity has happened due to much opposition. Everybody has had much opposition, but it's up to the individual to go forward with the mindset of Christ over the mindset of the world. It's different. All right. Keep that in mind. All right, everybody, I know you have things on your mind. Let's get some of those collective questions. Nothing is off the table except for my hair. I'm kind of wondering, will I have two hairs this time? What do you call a haircut when you have no hair in the first place? Well, just that, a haircut. Just one haircut. Somebody says X-class flare 1.1 on Earth facing. What would the effects be if facing Earth? Well, it depends on our magnetosphere. I'll tell you guys something interesting. Suppose we had the Carrington event and it hit Earth right now. Do you know it wouldn't do anything? Do you know that? It wouldn't do a thing. Do you know why? Because of our magnetic shielding and its polarity. When they went back to the Carrington event, they found that during the same time, there were issues with the magnetic field lines of force going around the Earth. There was also areas of chaos, right, of reorientation of the magnetic field lines, and that it was the opposite polarity of the solar flare that came out to us, which is why it did so much damage. It's kind of like taking the positive terminal of your car battery and somehow touching the negative. That gives you a direct flow of current that'll be so high it's going to melt the wire and cause sparks. Whenever you take positive to positive of a electronic circuit or something like that, nothing happens. Nothing happens. When you take negative to negative and you touch them, nothing happens. When the Earth, when our magnetic field lines of force are polarized in such a way that they match the sun, and when the sun shoots out a flare and they capture that polarization of that flare comes and hits Earth, if it's oriented the right way, right? In other words, if it's polarized the right way, it's not going to do a thing. It's going to be harmlessly absorbed. Now, if it's not polarized the right way, I'll tell you right now, a tiny flare can cause us critical damage. And so far, we've been blessed. So I want you guys to know this. That means a minor flare can cause a blackout of the entire northern hemisphere, southern hemisphere, depending on the polarity of those field lines of force. You're starting to see what I'm saying? A lot of people are under the impression it takes a pretty big player to do something to us that's not true. If our polarity is not correct, solar winds are going to do massive damage to the Earth. Even without a flare, the solar winds will destroy us. We don't need a flare. We don't need a CME. That's something in it. That means all this time we have been protected. And a lot of people I know, they take that for granted because, there are scientists who think about that all the time. They know for a fact that if our polarity were to alter on the Earth, all of us would fry right now without a solar flare. Just with the solar winds, they are deadly. The solar winds are deadly to all life on this planet. Do you guys know that? Many people don't know that. They really think we need a flare to do something. No. Just with the solar winds, this Earth would be cooked. I mean, in a matter of less than 1 minute, life would be extinguished. It would. So we are incredibly blessed. I look at things like that, and it's almost unbelievable how blessed we are. It's also impossible. It is statistically impossible that we've not been fried collectively yet. We've not been killed, all of us, at the same time by solar winds. That's impossible. Nothing maintains itself like that for this long without those mishaps. One more thing on that. There had been occasions when we lost parts of our shielding, and it just so happened to be at a time when the solar winds were in a type of flux. So it didn't really absorb in that part that was missing. Don't you find that odd? Also, when a solar flare is ejected from the sun, do you not know solar flares are induced by the heliosphere? Do you guys know that? Solar flares are not just these random phenomena. Think of it this way. You guys ever have a piece of plastic in your hand, or one of those popcorn things that comes into your shipping containers, and you take something out and the popcorn sticks to your hand, right? And you try to flick it off and it sticks to your forearm. And you try to take that off and it's stuck on your other hand, right? Or it's stuck to your chest or something like that. What you may not know is all you have to do is touch your hand to the floor and it comes off. Do you know that? Piece of plastic is the same way. Sometimes you unwrap something and it has that very thin, cellophane on there, and it's sticking to you, right? It's just keeps getting attracted to you. All you have to do is touch the floor and it goes away. What is that? That's an electronic attraction. That's an electric attraction to static, which is nothing more than an electric attraction. So with an electric attraction comes magnetism. So in fact, you're actually magnetically attracted to that, is what's happening. So think of it, the heliosphere is just like your body. The sun is like the shipping container, and the material being ejected from the sun is like that piece of, cellophane or popcorn or piece of plastic that is drawn to your body. Every time the heliosphere gets weakened in a certain spot, there's phenomena that happens. Because in every single case, in all the observed cases, mathematically, of course, when the sun has a solar flare, it will always happen in the direction of the weakest portions of the heliosphere. The heliosphere is attracting material from the sun, and the sun shoots out the flare to replenish the heliosphere. There's something in it. It's amazing. It's an amazing thing. Now, I don't know about you guys. I'm kind of nerdy, right? So I play with static electricity and some other things that I won't name here. But that same piece of popcorn, do you guys know that with that static you have in your body, you can control where that piece of popcorn is in the atmosphere with music or vibrations? Do you know that? You can distort through sound any magnetic field lines of force because everything is held in place by magnetic memory. I did that after I saw an experiment in White Sands where they were taking sound and they were influencing just to say some biological elements. And it was quite astounding to see how something so simple could do that. What we don't know is this, that at extremely high frequencies, there are forces that exist. And it seems to be, to the average person, they would say, well, that's another plane of existence, although it's all around us. No, not true. It's just that the frequency is so high, nothing in us can perceive it. Nothing in the earth can perceive it. It is that incredibly high because you're dealing with tiny, tiny, tiny particulates. The amazing thing is that tiny particulate, with that sound, the frequency is so high that if you were to do a calculation of mass, it would be about the weight of the earth. Think about something that's smaller than the electron of an atom that has the weight of the earth because of sound, essentially because of sound. This was a breakthrough. This, the whole world will eventually start finding out about later on when they start introducing new types of technology, right? Dealing with travel. They're going to find this out. So I'll say it again. Sound can offset billions of tons of weight, turning it, or let's say negating the attraction force into nothing, altering it, redirecting it with little to no energy. But you're dealing with frequencies, again, so high that there's no standard machinery or standard electronic components that are going to manipulate that frequency. And there's nothing in your body that's going to affect that either. They do suspect, however, you can do that by way of your mind. We're not talking about telepathy or anything like that. When you think, when you're thinking, when you're active, believe it or not, your brain is putting off frequencies, some of those pretty high frequencies. And so often you can interfere with your own reality based on what you're thinking about. Anyway, that'll be declassified too. There are so many things being declassified. Hopefully, people actually thoroughly read and understand that much of these investigations were in the reside in the esoteric side. You have some in the scientific field that reside in the, kind of like the spooky sciences side. But you're looking at techniques that actually are quite effective. And it's going to turn electronics on its head because there are principles they found out a long time ago that will be declassified. That's going to totally undo what people think about. Even there was one time I made a comment in COT concerning electrons, and when that is declassified, people actually replicate that, they'll understand it. They're going to be onto a brand new type of experimentation at that point. It's amazing how forces actually interact. You have a lot to do with that. You do. You have so much to do with that. Somebody said, Mike, sounds like New Age theory. No, it's not theory. These are not theory at all. These are things that are being worked with. So we're not talking about theories. We're talking about things that worked, right? We're not talking about the electron theory or the proton theory. No, we're talking about things that are factual, things that actually work, things that are working right now. Weird types of amplifiers. What makes it weird is that people don't understand what thoughts are. They don't understand what's happening in the brain when they start thinking about anything. You're a spirit inside your body. That's what you are. You are not your body. That's not what you are. You're not your body. You're not what somebody else sees. You're the spirit in that body that can leave that body and you're still intact and your body will die. So how are you keeping your body functioning? I tell you right now, desire is power. Somebody said we should just pack it all up and walk away from the Ukraine warnings. Just do it. The Ukraine is such a sad story. It is. Sad story. For the people. You have the leaders, yes, but my heart goes out to the people, especially the people that are just like you and I, that are not involved in leadership the way it is. Everybody's not involved in leadership, right? Everybody's not involved in the know. Everybody's not involved in those things. And some of those people are just doing the basic they can do. But I'm going to give you guys a challenge on something. I want you guys to start doing your homework. The word Crimea is synonymous in history all the way back to the Byzantine Empire. Crimea and the people of Crimea have another identity. We'll go over that history in a minute, an hour. But Crimea has been around for a long time. Russia actually has papers. Listen to this. They actually have papers where they have whitewashed the history of Crimea. Now keep in mind, what we're talking about is an Islamic origin that grew and grew and grew and has everything to do with Persia. But it grew and grew and grew and split into two pieces. And those two pieces also split. It is a known fact that Russia was given the charge by the leadership in Russia. They were given a charge to erase all remnants of history of any cruelty that Russia had inflicted upon a certain people. Now that's written down. That is not somebody's letter to somebody else. That's not someone who heard it from this person who gave it to that person. No. That's filed. That's a report. These are directives that actually went out. Documented directives that actually went out. Documented directives. So Crimea is a very different, that land is a very different place. And what's happening there is based on something extremely old, something that many are not familiar with. You think Russia was always Russia? Do you know what communism is? Do you not know that in communism, Christ is hated? How many people are familiar with that? How many people know that? Most people don't know that. They don't know that communism is an enemy of Jesus Christ because they hate Jesus Christ. They stand against Jesus Christ. And many people don't know that. And when communism began to spread on the face of the earth, these empires went by other names. They're still the same entity, still the same original empire, hidden under veil of lies, with a different identity. Now mark my words, people will be educated in this. And you remember all those people who got angry at others because of what happened to Putin or what happened to the Ukraine? I guarantee you, nobody's going to say anything about how many people got hurt over the nonsense of somebody else's ideology here in America who had an opinion about Putin or who had an opinion about Zelensky. You might want to look up, you might want to really look into communism and where it was consolidated. You might want to do that because they are enemies of Christ. They pronounced themselves enemies of Christ. They killed, and wait a minute, I'm not done. During that same time, they did not want anybody to know the role of the Catholic Church during that time. Yes, it was linked to communism. The history is going to come forward. This is going to cause people to start losing their faith in things. This will cause that great falling away. This is going to really challenge the faith of many. It will, when they find these things out. Why? They've been hidden for so long. People are not familiar with that. And when they see the facts about it, they're going to be sickened to their stomachs because they're going to see the exact agenda that's happening, the exact same practices, minus the historical precedents of murder and of genocide. My goodness, people are in for a time. I told you guys a long time ago. I told everybody a long time ago in the hopes that people would turn back to Christ. Get out of the, stop, don't do the leader worship thing of anyone, no matter who it is. You know, you have leaders, then pray for them and let God deal with that. But serve the Lord. Be genuine with the Lord. Lift up the name of the Lord. Stand for the Lord's, his things, you know, not the world's things, because people, they can hide under many layers of things. They can. Listen, the Bible told us that if it were possible, even the very elect would be deceived. That's a very dangerous and ominous statement, because the only reason the elect are not deceived is because God stopped it, which means many of them could have been fooled, but God wouldn't allow it to go all the way to the point of their own personal desecration. He wouldn't do it. Now, the Lord can employ many methods. One method is the Lord will take you from the face of the earth to stop you from being polluted any further. Do you know that? That's why the Lord's way is so good. The Lord's way is so... The Lord already told us what to do. How many people don't know what to do in this time? How many people don't know what to do? Because the Lord gave us clear instruction as to what to do. Love your fellow man, but understand who your fellow man could be. Serve the Lord, but love your fellow man. You let the Lord decide who they actually are. Pray for your leaders. Let the Lord decide who they actually are. Because I can assure you, by the Lord's word, no one is getting away with anything. No one is. And everything in the darkness is going to be brought to the light. All of it. So there's going to be no secret, this kept secret. Everything is going to be in the open, in due time. You trust in the Messiah, not people. You trust in the Most High, not people. Stop putting your trust in people so that you can love them. Because I can assure you that if you put your trust in people, they can easily break it, and you will not love them for breaking your trust. But you can put your trust in the Most High and love your fellow man, knowing that they're human, that they're going to do weird things sometimes, that they're going to get off track, and you can forgive them and keep going and continue to pray for them. Put your trust in that which cannot fail. You know what's never failed you? The very thing you never saw before. Want to be free? Do that. Because there's always a fight. Don't let that confuse you. Satan knows who you are. He's going to be against you, and the Lord allows it. If Satan was not against us, we would wander over into darkness ourselves, saying it's not so bad. That's what we would do. You know what makes you think evil is bad? Because you get over into an evil thing, and Satan is right there doing evil things, and then it bites you. The bite hurts, and you say, my goodness, that hurt. Only when a kid is burnt, it snaps in the brains. Don't mess with that. You can get hurt because that burns. But if something never burns a child, you can tell them to stay away from it every single day. I'm telling you, they're going to be drawn to it. Why? Because it did no harm to them. When something does not do harm to us, we think it's harmless. And when somebody says don't touch it, it piques our curiosity. We get even closer to it. In this case, God tells us not to do certain things, doesn't he? We do it anyway, and then when Satan bites us, that's when we say, oh Lord, help me. I'm bit. This hurts. I'm not doing that again. Then you lose your taste for it. You're not curious about it. You want nothing to do with it. That's how the Lord gets us to grow and to stay away from darkness, because anybody who loves darkness is going to get bit and say, that's what I've been looking for. But that does not sound like you, does it? Evil loves to be bitten. Have you ever met a person? I met a few kickboxers in my time. They loved pain. They loved the pain of the ring. They did. They loved it. They loved to brutalize other people too. But they loved the pain. So when they were, getting knocked out and they're bruised up, they loved that part. It did something to them. And come to find out, there are people in this world who love to be injured. They love it. It stimulates them. Well, let me tell you something. It does not stimulate me. So when I see something like that happening, I don't want anything to do with that. And I used to kickbox, but I do not love pain. I did it for the sport, but I began not to like it because of what it was being promoted as, how people looked at it, and I saw it as a useless type of thing. Nothing but bravado to see who's the baddest. Now overseas, I hate to say it overseas, it's more of a contest of discipline, a contest of discipline, of great discipline. They look at form, they look at your technique, they look at your attitude, they look at how you handle your defense, right? Your offense. Everything is scrutinized to a great degree. A lot of dexterity is involved. But in other places, it's nothing more than brutality. So some people like the art of it. Yes, the art of it. And some people like the brutality of it. I don't like the brutality of it. I like the art of it. I like the exercise. I like the form of it. You're in this world. You're finding out things you like a lot, but other things you don't like at all. And again, once you're bit, if you don't want to be bit again, and you don't like something when it's dark, when it hurts, my biggest thing is darkness hurts other people. I want nothing to do with anything that's going to hurt somebody else. What about you guys? If it's going to hurt somebody else, I want nothing to do with it. In fact, isn't that one of the driving forces of our lives? We will go out of our way not to hurt someone. We will. We have a desire within us, no matter how mean others think you are, you have a desire in your heart to help other folks. All too often, sometimes you can't do that, and that will cause you frustration. Now, people may not understand that frustrated part of you. It makes you sad that you cannot give aid to another person. I'm familiar with all those different aspects of growth. Most people should be, but that's who you really are. You're not one of those who will enjoy the downfall of others. You're not one of those who likes to, inflict pain upon others. Some of you stopped doing what you were doing because it was affecting other people in a bad way. You said, "Forgive me, Lord," because you saw it hurting somebody else, and you quickly got away from that darkness. Another example of who you are. But some people, they love the feeling of inflicting pain on others. They like it, and they're not like you. They're not like you. So, again, we don't know all these things in other folks. We don't know what their potential is to do. You don't know if they're truly evil or not, if they will repent tomorrow, but the Lord does. So in your life, stop putting your trust in people and have expectations in them. Have expectations in your Father in heaven. Leave other people free. In return, you'll be free. Many of you may not be free because you've enslaved other people through expectations. You become like a taskmaster every time you see them. If you set them free, then you have forgiven them, haven't you? But if you expect something out of them, you have not forgiven them because you're in expectation. Think about that. If I expect you, if you told me that you were going to give me a box of cookies and I expected that box of cookies of you every single day, then every time you don't have that box of cookies, I'm going to hold something against you. You're going to feel me holding that against you, and it's no good for either one of us. That is not a situation of forgiveness. That is being a taskmaster. Well, guess what? When I grew up, I learned to love the liberty of the Lord. And because I like the liberty of the Lord, and because I like my own freedom, I in turn extend freedom to all. I don't put my trust in people, nor my expectations. And because I don't do that, anything a person does the right way is truly a gift. But if they do it the wrong way, well, I knew that was coming. I need not get upset. Do you guys see the logic in that? A lot of people walk around upset. Why are you upset? Oh, just people. People are just terrible. Of course they are. But why would you let somebody external from you destroy your day? Why do we do that? Why do we let somebody else who has nothing to do with us internally, why do we let those people destroy us, keeping us down in the dumps? Our attitude is sour and everything else. Why? Because they did not live up to our expectations. Why do that in the first place when some of you will say, I don't know who I can trust. I'm always let down. Well, stop putting your trust in people. You've been let down all your life because you continue to put your expectations in people, and the Lord is showing you that's going to fail every single time. People have been alive for 50, 60 years, and they're grumpy. They've turned into grumpy people. Why? Because they keep expecting things out of people like people are serving them. I'll never look at anybody like they're my servants, like they have to meet my standard. No. But see, I live in the liberty of Christ. And when you live in the liberty of Christ, you extend that same liberty to another. You don't make yourself a prison. I like the Lord's instruction. Somebody said, sowing discord. What do you do to a person who sows discord? You're to have no fellowship with that person, aren't you? You don't buddy up to a person like that. You can pray for them, but you are to have no fellowship with that person. That means you're not going to hang out with a person who sows discord. You're not going to do that. You can pray for them. But I can assure you, you're not going to stop them from sowing discord. Because here's what happens. This is something I was trying to explain last night. When you attempt to stop somebody from doing a devilish work, you're the one that ends up aggravated 100% of the time. Then you get angry 100% of the time. And then you end up doing something outside of righteousness to that person. But when you do that, you're using the devil's weapons against the devil, and it's not going to work. You cannot use his weapons against him. You're made to use righteous weapons, not weapons of the devil. That's why nothing in this world is ever getting solved. And people go around in this yo-yo syndrome, right? It's been the same story for thousands of years. Why no change? Because people continue to operate with Satan's own weapons against satanic things. And they keep losing miserably the entire time. When you read the New Testament, there's been no peace on the earth for a very long time. Do you know that? It's not been on the earth. It's been chaos on this earth this entire time. You guys hear about murders, don't you? All sorts of heinous acts out there. This is happening all the time, and there's no rest from it. How many people, and I heard somebody say, the Lord is about to take peace from the earth. And I almost choked. I was like, this person really thinks there's been peace on earth? Are you kidding? There's been no peace on this earth. How can you remove peace from the earth when there's been no peace on the earth? In 70 AD, just before that, kingdoms were getting along. Rome did not conquer people. Rome absorbed other nations. He absorbed them. And they had a big rule over just about everything. But 70 AD, everything fell apart. And it just gets worse and worse and worse every single year. There's been no peace on the earth. There's been none. That's why I believe a little differently in Revelation than most. I don't get into eschatology. But when it comes to the seven seals, the Lamb prevailed. Well, he prevailed some time ago. And he began to open the seals. And when you look at those seals, like the first one, second one, and the third one, and fourth one, they look like the events that have been happening continuously all this time. If a person is born in the middle of the moment, when the mark is everywhere, then whoever's born in that time is not going to see the mark at all. Should they find a Bible, they're going to say, Revelation is coming. They're not going to call the beast the beast. They're going to call the beast the greatest leader they ever saw. They're not going to call it a dark and devilish world. They're going to call it home. You cannot recognize such things when you're born in that era. Now, if you begin to reflect upon a span of time, you can see that we're a lot further along than what people think. We live in very different times. We do. But again, folks, I don't know how we ended up on this. We were talking about the sun. That's funny, isn't it? But there that is. Anyway, there that is. You're meant to be royalty. All of you. You're not meant for sin. You're not even meant for death. You're meant to be victorious. That you are. Somebody says, I cringe when I hear the golden age. They know what that is. They know what it is. Right? They know what it is. Listen, but they're just men. I'll tell you something. Do you guys think a devoted person to Jesus Christ, that the world will elect them to be president? Jesus says no. The Father says no. So what do we have? We have people being elected. They may not be as biblical as most, but you have some that are with you more than others. Do you know that? Look at the principles of leaders. Decide that. Because the Lord told us in this time what they're going to call evil good and good evil. That's what he told us. We can't forget that. Right now, speaking of that, Americans are in the blind. They're in the blind right now. When I say that the whole world is doing something different, the whole world is doing something else. They're doing something. I'm going to keep pace with them too. I'm going to keep pace with them so that I can do everything that needs to be done that I could possibly do for the body of Christ. The world is moving right along. They are. I hate to say that, but they are. And if we're not careful, resistance to what the simple things that are being done is going to slow down or stop the entire process. And at that point, there's going to be an eruption of riots all over the place. But for us, what did the Lord promise us in these days? If these are the last times, what did the Lord promise us? Anybody know what the Lord said about you? He said you would be victorious in this time. You would possess the kingdoms of this earth. There's going to be a transition of power, not into the hands of mankind. No, into the hands of the righteous. Your Father in heaven is coming here. Jesus is coming here. They're not going to another place. They're coming here. They're coming here. You will be victorious in him, those who are faithful to him. But you are to possess the kingdoms of this earth. You are. A transition will take place of everything. You will be empowered. Oh, yes, you will. You can see it right now. Things are falling apart for a reason. Number one, it will destroy the haughtiness of some of us. It will. We will be abased so that we can be kept, not lost. The Lord is not going to lose us. So what does that mean? If the Lord tells me, Mike, I'm not going to lose you, then that means the Lord is about to abase me. That's what it means. He's going to stop me of being high-minded. He will humble me. Because God never kept anybody who was not humble, did he? And those who were not humble, didn't he humble them before they went in the first place? You remember Solomon, he was humbled. King David, he was humbled. Joshua, he was humbled. All these people were humbled, weren't they? We're going to be humbled too, by way of the truth. Get ready, it's happening. We're a bit further in the prophecy than you might believe. Oh, now, folks, it's very important to make sure you understand that the Lord's word will never fail, that whatever you live by, you will die by, and whatever you sow, you're going to reap. We all know times are coming, you're going to see this overseas first. You're going to see it. You're going to see people who did not sow mercy. Should they face an enemy, those who did not sow mercy will not reap mercy from their enemies. You know that part in Revelation where it says, he will wear out the saints of the Most High? Do you not know that there are parts in the Bible where the saints of the Most High were foolish? Those are believers. Now, the Bible tells us that sometimes we can be foolish and we have to be corrected. I firmly believe you also have to rightly divine the word of truth. You have to apply it to its prospective place. Jesus is not going to step foot in Canada. Isn't that right? There are other places called Mount Hermon. There are other places called Mount of Olives. Do you know that? But he's not going to step foot in Canada. He's not going to step foot in America first. No, although places share that name. See, you have to rightly divine the word of truth. You have to apply it according to the word. That comes by revelation. Now, when it says he will wear out the saints of the Most High, do you not know what described it? That's going to happen in Israel. Does the Bible say that America is going to be trampled underfoot 40 and 2 months? No. Does the Bible say Canada is going to be trampled underfoot 40 and 2 months? No. It says Israel is going to be trampled underfoot 40 and 2 months. It does. It says the beast is going to go in there collectively with his armies and take Jerusalem and set up the abomination of desolation. In the Bible, it does not say those in New York flee to the mountains. It says those in Judea flee into the mountains. That's what it says. So when you rightly divine the word of truth and you read that part where he wears out the saints of the Most High, do you not know what describes those specific saints? And it gives everybody else a caution that in a person's calamity, do not scoff them, no matter who they are, or you will be scoffed in the calamity that will surely come for you. See how that works? Also, you will reap what you sow, and in the Bible it says, in a time where you need mercy the most, if you have not sown mercy, you could reap grievances. Should an enemy come into your lands and you have sown mercy, I'm convinced that enemy is going to show you mercy. You will not befall what everybody else does because you operated by the Word of God. But Satan is trying to get you to nullify. He knows what's coming because he's the one that's being given the room to do it. God allowed the beast to speak great swelling words and blasphemies. Satan knows what he's about to have power to do. He's attempting to get you to void your own blessing. He's attempting to get you to void mercy. So if he can make you lash out at somebody, if he can make you scoff somebody, if he can make you withdraw your mercy from somebody by way of the heart, when your enemy comes, or when a situation comes, or when a storm comes, or when a fire comes, or when a flood comes, you're not going to have mercy. You're not going to have it. Enemies will come in many forms. Storms are going to come. The winds are coming. The fires are forming. The floods will come. Some will be devastated, some will not. I am convinced those who sow mercy will reap it in a time when they need it the most. Satan is attempting to get you to void your own mercy that's due you. You will eat from the garden you've sown in. You will. And if you can be moved, there are a lot of people in America right now, they are angry. They have become hateful. They have. Now, we can't control people and tell them, don't dare do that, or do this. We can't do that. Each person, because God's not going to judge based on what you've been influenced to do. God's going to see what's in your heart. Didn't he tell us that if you look upon a woman and you have adultery, look upon that woman with adultery in your heart, you have committed adultery without even touching the woman. Didn't he tell us that? So wouldn't the same be true if he said, or wouldn't the same be true if we wished harm upon someone, if we wished that somebody would be, imprisoned or something like that? By way of the hearts, we are never to let our hearts become like that. It's what we have to purge. We're supposed to be believers in Christ. How can we believe in forgiveness and say we want people to die? Or say we wish people would just get locked up? Or how can we be so vicious in the heart? I'll tell you, we're not fooling the living God. And Revelation is his revelation. And everything in Revelation is your Father's revelation. And nothing will stop it. See, I know this. If you've been a peacemaker, not a compromiser, a peacemaker, if your heart is purged, Revelation is going to be the most beautiful time in your life. It truly will be a revelation of who your Father is. That's a joyful time. Even in Revelation you read, God will wipe away every tear from their eyes. You think that's false? God himself will wipe away every tear from their eyes. You think that's false? Those people that were found, that were in great number, they came out of great tribulation. If they came out of great tribulation, they were freed from it. We don't know how that can happen. I do know this. There's so many things that can take you in an instant. There are also things that can make you suffer a great deal. And we know that those who did not accept the Messiah, who kept turning it down and turning it down, who kept murdering their fellow man and everything else, there will be great torments on the earth, and they will not die. It says men will desire to die, but death will flee from them. Can you imagine that? You're not able to die? Well, here's something even worse. Why does it take an ugly picture to get us to do right? As for me, I don't want to choose the Messiah because I'm afraid of the consequences. Forget that. That's not true to me. You know what's true to me? Is if I follow the Messiah, is if I obey the Messiah, because I recognize who the Messiah is. I do not want to follow Christ because I'm scared of hell itself. That can't be genuine. See, I see that activity in the earth. People doing things to avoid something else, but in their hearts, if they didn't have the consequences, they would do anything and everything. If there were no cops on the face of the earth, there'd be crimes you couldn't believe. Some people will not do evil things simply because they don't want to deal with the consequences. I certainly don't want to be like that. I don't want to be one of those who's going to do the right thing because I don't want to deal with the consequences. Why? Because that's fake. That's phony. That means in my heart there's a corruptness and a blackness that topples everything, but I look clean in a Mr. Goody Two-Shoes, all because I'm afraid of the consequences. So that means I'm an actor, and I'm just acting the part. Oh, that's going to be filtered out, Revelation. Your Father knows who's acting, and your Father knows who's real. He knows. He will make that distinction. He will not make a mistake, and no one will escape what's coming for them. These times that we live in now will start to draw them out. We talked about this, it was 11 years ago, that the earth would be such that people would be drawn out. My term was they would begin to unzip. Do you guys remember that? Remember I coined that term right here in COT, that people would begin to unzip. Why? Because the world would no longer chastise them for being corrupted. So they will become who they truly are on the inside. They'll stop acting. See, as soon as those things of the heart are accepted by a society, people can be exactly who they are. So they've been coming out the closets. They've been coming out the oven. They've been coming out the drawers. They've been unzipping and coming out of everywhere. Why? Because society accepts it. That's why. Back in the day, no one dared come out the closet. Society did not accept it. It's different now, isn't it? So people are becoming what they truly were on the inside all this time. That's exactly what the Bible talks about. That's precisely what the Word of God talks about. That there's nothing that is going to be whispered in secret that's not going to be known openly. Why? Not because somebody else is going to tell it. Because the people themselves are going to have zero conviction in becoming that thing that they were on the inside all the time. People are proudly walking in their own darkness. Are they not? They are proudly doing this. And this was promised to happen before the total consummation of things. And that's got to be true because I know we're missing some historical times. History has lied to people. So I'll tell you now is an opportunity, not a time of nervousness. No. This is that time. Those moments are resolved. Because when it breaks out, this will be a storm that will never stop. And all those who are stuck in their stuff are going to feel the full weight of every element of these storms. There's no escape. The truth of all of us is going to be known. That's why you see things changing so fast. That's why you see people desperate to fend off certain evils you may not know about. That's why I always ask people to reserve judgment on everything they see. Don't be so quick to judge a situation. Don't be so quick. Nobody's going to get away with anything. Nobody. Not one soul is going to get away with anything. Things will be seen for what they are. But again, Satan is attempting to draw people out to get them to void any mercy that will be coming their way. He wants you to become hateful and angry and combative and everything else so that when a certain type of enemy is at your door, no mercy will be given to you. Like a storm or a flood or a fire. An enemy is not only an enemy country. It's not only the cartels. It's not only Iran. It's not only China. You're looking at tornadoes. You're looking at floods, high winds, hail, fires, meteor storms. Lives are going to be turned upside down. They're not going to believe. Many won't believe they're going to face anything until it takes them. That's what the Bible teaches. The world knew not until the flood came and took them all away, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. I know people focus on the giants. I know people focus on all these other things. But Jesus said the world knew not until the flood came and took them all away. So shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. The coming of the Son of Man is a season. So in the season, because he only comes at the last times, in the last times, that season of the last times, the world will know nothing until it takes them, until it plunges them into torment. That's the only time they're going to consider. Otherwise, they're going to deny it. Deny it, deny it, deny it. So if you're looking to the world for an answer, You'll never find it. In fact, you start looking to the world, and all of you know it. You're going to start feeling like they are, denying that you're in the end times. You guys already know this. You've been there before. You didn't tell anybody, but you've been there before. When you sought who you desired to become a political person, to become a person in the world, you said, well, I'm going to cool out. Let me just get my stuff together and live my life in the world and do this, because the first thing you did was you said, well, these may not be the end times. How funny. Like that's a qualification for walking in the world. You got to say to yourself, well, these may not be the end times. Nobody knows that for sure. Why did that enter into your head when you decided to start walking in the world again? In that small examination can show you a lot. It'll show you the enemy you're truly fighting. They're doing things right now normal. They're not preparing for anything. You got Europe over there, right? They're telling hundreds of millions, if not billions of people, have 72 hours of water and food. Have it so you can survive the first 72 hours of a catastrophe. They have manuals coming out. Further instruction. They're warning their entire countries. France, all of them are, not the USA. The USA is not saying anything. We're not talking about anything like that. I mean, we are, but not as you think they're going to send out. You think they're going to advise or have a manual for all civilians on what they need to sustain themselves for 72 hours? No. What are we doing? We're making movies. Well, it's a new movie that comes out, so-and-so. Oh, let's go look at the skaters. Or it's the argument of politics. We're watching what a leader is going to do. Or we're making jokes because we're the world's entertainers. Like court jesters. Everything we buy, you pick something up, made in Taiwan, made in China, made in Mexico. Who picks up something overseas and it says made in America? This is what we have become. We manage everybody else's resources in the world. We make movies and music, entertainment, and casinos. That's what we make. Rockets, we make those, but we use Russian rockets a lot. We're using Russian technology. We've been using that up until Elon Musk. And American people, they're in denial. They're saying, oh, it's not so bad. Nothing is coming. Nothing is going to happen. That's exactly what happened to Sodom and Gomorrah. They were so polluted, turned inwardly. All they could see is their own desires. Folks, listen to me. When a nation can only focus on what they desire, when the people of that nation can only focus on what they desire, calamity is coming. It's coming. I do believe we're going to get this nation back together, but we're going to have something hit us first. We're going to have to go through something first. We hate each other too much. My goodness, we hate each other. Lord have mercy. But this is where we are. So again, Satan wants you to join in with that chaos. He wants you to join in with the drama stew. That's what he wants. He wants for the rest of the people to cower away, to live in fear. There's a different way, of course. A person can realize the truth. And the truth is, the Lord has orchestrated all things, or all things would not be in the first place. Nothing can exist without the Father's approval on a moment-to-moment basis. He is mindful of all things. He knows where everything is all the time. He knows where every element, every atom of your body is all the time. You know in the Bible when it says he knows the very count of the hairs on your head? Do you not know that the hairs on your head, they change count about every hour? Or every half hour, I'm sorry. Every half hour, that count is different. And the Lord knows that count on a continuous basis. So if he knows that count, he's intimate with your thoughts and everything else. You have hidden nothing from the Most High. He knows every dirty thought you ever had. He knows what your intent is. He knows what your heart is. He knows all about us all the time at the exact same time. In truth, when it says a day is as 1,000 years and 1,000 years as a day, that's a 1-to-1 ratio to me. That means he can take this 1 second of time, stretch it out for 1,000 years and inspect everything about us. We can't hide a thing. Your thoughts have been open to him all this time. Your secrets visible to him all this time. Your intent known by him all this time. Nothing is hidden from the Most High. We just fool ourselves into believing possibly he didn't see that. He didn't hear that. Not true. But guess what? Because you still believe in his son, that means he still loves you. And he's still willing to forgive you for all that stuff that we do. Isn't that an awesome thought? I'm telling you that in the hopes that you won't walk out your days in fear, but in resolve to finally accept that you're a citizen of the kingdom of the living God, that you're soon to be born, which means you'll be an eternal being. No longer limited by the flesh, you'll have great responsibilities. But your choices begin now. And the choices are not difficult, they're not. When we say they're difficult, normally it's because we don't want to do something. A child will say, oh, it's so hard to clean my room because they don't want to clean the room. They don't want to clean it, right? Here's something funny, though. If you were to tell a child back in the day, if you were to tell a child, well, if you don't clean your room, Santa Claus is not going to leave you anything, all of a sudden, the kid gladly cleans the room. Why? Because he gets something in exchange. Sadly, that same mentality is among people now. A person can be sick, right? If you guys are sick, you need bed rest, right? Wrong. People can be sick, and because they want a paycheck to do things with, they'll go to work. They'll go to work half dead, if necessary. You all know that? They will. They'll do anything for money. People will. They will. And they do. They do anything for money. Because money is power. And if they get enough money, they don't need to rely on anybody else, and that becomes security. Isn't that funny? Yet, when it comes to anything maintaining discipline and righteousness or something like that, all of a sudden it becomes impossible to do. It's hard to do. It's hard for anybody to do what they don't want to do in the first place. It's a joy. You know what? It's just like sin. There was a time when I used to look at sin, I said, my goodness, it's going to be hard to maintain righteousness. I remember myself being young thinking that very thought, like, wow, you serve the Lord, you're going to have to give up a lot. That's what I thought. When I got older and I had a change of spirit, you know what happened? I had a desire for righteousness, and sin was no longer a problem. It changed just like that. See, once you have a desire to obey, that's what you're thinking about. Obeying the Lord, and sin is not a problem. But when you're not thinking about obeying the Lord, it's hard to let go of those things you like to do in the first place. So I tell you this, it's all based on desire, and desire is what you like to do or what you want to do. And based upon how your heart is, that's what you're going to have problems with. Listen, I meet people all the time, and they say it's so hard to quit smoking. I said, yes, that's because you enjoy it. Some people enjoy it. Drinking, likewise, they enjoy it. They do, they enjoy it. It becomes a social crutch of some sorts. They have to change some habits. I've seen people that are dying by cigarettes. They are. And I'm not saying cigarettes are going to get you into hell. That's not what I'm saying. But they can certainly limit your life. They can cause you problems. I'm just using that as an example. When a person enjoys something, it's very difficult to stop. But I'll tell you something. When you see how something is destroying somebody else, and it really hits you, there's no power that can make you continue doing anything like that. You don't, because see, at that point, you don't care if it's going to take your life. You're not going to do it. When you see the ugliness, the damage of something, that's when you stop it. You have to learn to hate the sin that you do before you can get away from it. That's a fact. If you don't hate it, you don't see the harm in it. See, me personally, I could see what things I personally was doing, how it was harming other folks. I said no. Then I began to see how it dishonored Christ on the cross. And that is the most precious thing to me, what he did on the cross. Because I don't know about you, nobody died for me. Nobody went the extra mile for me. They didn't. That's just my life. All of us have different lives, and nobody went the extra mile for me. But the Lord did. The Lord went the extra mile for me. It's not like I'm deserving of it. You know how people say, well, you deserve better. No, I know I deserve death. But the Lord gave his life for me, and no one else did that. There's some of us out there in which we were abandoned by just about everybody. But the Lord, He freely gave His life for us, even when we did not believe in Him. He still believed in us. Do you really think upon understanding that a person would dishonor that purposely? I don't think so. It is my heart towards the cross that cancels out temptation. I don't deal with temptations like I used to because it does not exist. I have no desire for it. When your desires change, you will change. You'll most certainly change. Satan can't stand that. I know he's going to attack, but I'll tell you something. I thank God for that. I thank God for that. Why? Because if you spoon feed someone all the time, they'll never feed themselves. They won't do it. But the moment you stop spoon feeding someone, they're going to continue to get hungry. They will eventually, through trial and error, go through many different steps to try and feed themselves. Eventually, they're going to get it. Now, but they will have learned all the wrong ways through all those attempts. And now they can also help other people in various stages of life. Why? Because they were abandoned. And through trial and error, they learned to feed themselves. That means education. None of us are willing to be educated in such things. So in essence, if the Lord's going to educate us and give us wisdom in such things where we can talk to a diverse set of people, we almost have to be abandoned. We have to go through harsh times so that we can gain experience with those harsh times. And when somebody else is going through a harsh time, you can actually talk to the person without hypocrisy. You can say, hey, bud, I know exactly where you're coming from. But the Lord will deliver you still. You can say that with the utmost of confidence because you know about it. My life is like that. You guys don't hear me complaining. It is almost a never-ending thing, which goes right back to the first line I said at the beginning of the broadcast. Don't think it's strange when you go through fiery trials. Don't think it's strange. It's part of the wisdom that you gain. That's invaluable things. Somebody asked me a question yesterday about the ark. Did I explain that well enough about the ark? Yes, no, maybe so. Here's why. The Ark of the Covenant in Revelation 11:19. It mentions that, let's pull it up and I'll show you. I'll tell you why. Exactly. So you see it. I'm not discounting that one of those remote viewers saw it. I'm not. I'll tell you about that in a minute, though. And I'm not refuting anybody else's ideas. All right? God knows precisely. We do not. All right, Revelation 11:19 states, and the temple of God was open in heaven, and there was seen in his temple the ark of his testament. And there were lightnings and voices and thunderings, and an earthquake and great hail. Okay, you guys see that? The ark of his testament was seen in heaven. So, is that the same thing as the ark of the covenant? Well, if you look at the names used for the ark of the covenant, you see ark of his testimony. You see the ark of God, the ark of the covenant. And guess what testament means? Covenant. Testament and covenant are the exact same word here, or nearly that same word. So that's why. Now, what have people, this remote viewer, now I'm going to tell you something about remote viewing. I'm going to spill something. Hopefully you guys can look it up, because now I didn't read whatever they declassified, but remote viewing is basically a mental targeting exercise for things like to find people, to find groups, to find non-nuclear targets and nuclear targets, to find certain personalities of people, or to discern personalities of people, to actually cue the intelligence of other nations, things of that nature. Now, Hal Puthoff, that was the guy responsible for the whole thing in the first place. And he did that at Stanford. And it started with the with a few operations, Sunstreak and the Gate, which was later called Stargate. So he financed that, all right? And there was a guy there that everything he did, he got 50% of it right. The same guy discerned the ark, or let's say the same subject. discern the ark. What you may not know is this. Time is an issue. Here's what I mean by that. There are lots of folks they noticed who could get the situation right, but they got the timing wrong. So imagine if somebody said, hey, there's a guy in Russia who is, he's a radical, this, that, and the other, and he's about to start a war with, Europe or something like that. Well, he could be talking about somebody who existed 1,000 years ago. That's what they found out. They essentially hand somebody a numerical-based target. They don't tell them where it is or anything else, and by way of the subconscious, people start answering questions, okay? Ironically enough, you guys do it all the time, and there's an exercise. This is not witchcraft. It's a natural, innate ability. It's what people don't understand, right? You have abilities. All of you have abilities. It's not witchcraft. You just simply have abilities, right? I use this example. You're in a store. You're looking around. All of a sudden, you feel something. You turn around, and somebody about 100 feet away is looking dead at you. Now you're looking dead at them. You could feel them looking at you. That is so commonplace in our society that no one thinks that's weird. That is weird. So keep that in mind, because no one is calling that witchcraft when you turn around and look somebody dead in the eye because they're looking at you. You're not calling that. These are innate abilities that you have. So all of you have an ability to see what somebody else is seeing. The problem is when you don't believe that, you mentally go into these, you start doing flips and rolls and everything else, and you jumble up the information so you can turn away from it, right? You do. But it is there. So all of you have that ability. They have a problem with time, though, because timing has been out of place too many times. Sometimes they could see things that were happening, but it was 5 years off. Sometimes they could hear a conversation that was had, but it was 20 years off. Some people reported things that were directly on a police report, but it was like from 50 years ago. Things like that. Okay? If he saw the ark or something that looked like the ark, here's my issue. I believe the word of God, but I also believe in deceivers here on this earth. There is a counterfeit to everything God ever did on the face of this earth. And Satan is going to pull a big practical one over. He's going to pull the wool over people's eyes. Now, people can think it's the true Ark of the Covenant. I have no interest in that. And the reason why I have no interest is because of Christ. God does not make mistakes. He's not going to accidentally go senile and leave something here on this earth that can potentially destroy all of us. We live in a high time of deceit. Remember that. Please don't forget that. Many people are going to be fooled and tricked. They're fooled and tricked. That's just like I know people do the pineal gland thing, right? They say, hey, you got to have the pineal gland because, if you don't have that, you're going to be cut off from communication, this, that, and the other. But here's the problem with that. Then what is the Holy Spirit for? So that's why I can't subscribe to that. Plus, whether you believe it or not, I'm quite active in a few things was in my professional career, and I'm somewhat of an oddity. So I can't believe those things that have been proven wrong all throughout my life. That's why I live in the bushes. I can't live anywhere else. Here we are. I believe the word. I do not. If somebody showed me the Ark of the Covenant right here on this earth, I would be so skeptical. I would give the wrong reaction because the Father's not senile. He's not forgetful. He's not going to make a mistake. Or he's not doing those things, But there are counterfeits everywhere. Before the Messiah came, other Messiahs came that were counterfeits. In the book of Acts, it tells you what happened to those counterfeits. That the counterfeit Messiah and everybody that followed that counterfeit Messiah went into nothingness. They all kicked the bucket. They kicked the bucket. So there we are. Does it mean that the ark is not really here? Well, the ark can be anywhere. It's up to the Father. I just see it a certain way, and I have no choice but to be true to what the Lord has given me. Here's one thing I can't do. I cannot alter what God has given me so it agrees with anybody else. That is not genuine. It's not change. If everybody came to the table with what God gave them, not with what they got from somebody else, but with what God gave them, and if everybody would voice whatever God gave them, we could actually get somewhere. But one of the biggest problems is people alter what they believe based on some other influential person, and they will not keep what the Father gave them initially. And that's a problem. That's a big problem. We live in a world full of deceits too, spiritual deceits. So there we are. That's my belief. Plus, there's another scripture where God said he would take the Ark of the Covenant away from mankind. That's all. But could it be here on this earth? In truth, it could be. That's up to the Father. I just have to go with what God has given me. He didn't give me anything else. And if he did not give me anything else, I cannot state to you or anybody else that I believe in something else, because I would believe in people. I believe in the Lord. I believe that all of us are fallible, but I believe in the Lord. I do believe in what the Lord gives people, but I can't alter what the Lord has given me to align with somebody else. That would be disingenuous. It really would be. No matter how strange or outlandish it seems, I believe a person should always keep what the Lord has given them, because I'm telling you, it's going to come into play someday in their lives. See, there was a time I did alter what the Lord gave me one time, and I regretted that big time. I had a dream one time, right? And it was outlandish, and I altered the dream. I did that when I think it was 25. And I altered a tiny piece of the dream, just an insignificant tiny piece, which altered. The time came about when the dream came to pass. But guess what? Because I altered that small piece, it did not get to those that needed to hear it. And the repercussions of those things can weigh heavily upon you, knowing that your Father had given you an answer for someone, and you changed it because it didn't sound right. That's why I encourage people all the time, if the Lord gives you something, do not alter it. So what if it sounds crazy? Don't alter it. Keep it original. Never change it. It's going to be useful someday. If it's from the Lord, it's going to be needful. You guys know about the two bases underneath Israel, right? You also know that there is another chamber right below the black rock, and something is in that chamber. In fact, it's why these odd spheres come down from time to time over the mosques. It's also why that black sphere will light up every so often. It will glow. There's a real glow that comes off that rock, that black stone. There are so many, because it's underground, it's not well published. There are people who don't know about what's not published, and it alters what they theorize. The time has come when many things that are hidden are going to be shown, and it's going to alter how everyone believes in their own little narrative. I tell you, people are going to learn a lesson. They're going to say to themselves, I wish I would have kept it the way God gave it to me. Lord, forgive me for altering it. Because people are trying to make things make sense, and that's a mistake. In time, God will have all things revealed, but we've got to remain original to what God gives us. We can't alter what he gives us and expect anything to be revealed. We have to keep what he has given us. Somebody else's information will complement the true information that God has given us. You put all that, because in the Bible it says God has given us things in part. He didn't give us a whole thing. He gave us things in part, just like he didn't put us here on earth alone. He gave you brothers and sisters. And if we all keep the truth of what the Lord gives us, then collectively we all have that one truth. Individually, we have bits and pieces, but it's important that we keep the integrity of those bits and pieces at 100%, not altering them to fit somebody else's theory or paradigm. For what? Things will be revealed. People will adjust how they believe based on the new information. And the undeniable time will come when your eyes will see what you thought you'd never see. I like Ohio as of late. They're being plagued by something right now. Ohio, it was in New Jersey, now it's in Ohio. And the governor of Ohio demanded answers. Soon it's going to be all over the place. It's going to be all over social media. But at that time, there are going to be lots of lies. That's the world we live in right now. That's the world we live in. There are people who have had cell phones in their pockets and things have happened to them and have recorded hours of events. Their pants become transparent. The cell phone is sitting there just, recording everything and all over the place. This has happened too many times. We live in a very strange time, and things will be revealed, and many will repent, because clearly many have made things up. People will come forward. Things will come forward. Things will be uncovered. Lots will be shown to the world. Undeniable things will be above your heads all over the earth. And at that time, people are going to get rid of all this hunting things and theoretical things that they so easily introduce. Everything is changing. My hope is that everybody is fully prepared for that. That's going to be a rough time, not an easy time. COT's base of operations is right here at thecouncilofTime.com. COT has no other outlet or venue. These are other folks who will rebroadcast. Anything COT does is by the main page here at thecouncilofTime.com.
Notice also in the last days perilous times shall come. For men shall be lovers of their own selves, covetous, boasters, proud, blasphemers. It takes the grace of God to change us, folks. How can you be saved if you're not willing to repent? And the Lord Jesus Christ said, except you repent, ye shall all likewise perish.